My sister swapped my newborn's name while I was in labor, then reported us to CPS for neglect to keep him. When I pleaded with her to stop, she yelled, "James was always mine. You took my baby, so I claimed yours." I didn't respond. That was 5 months ago. Last night, she stood barefoot in the rain outside our house, clutching a photo of James Dean and muttering, "He was meant for me." I chose the name James for my son to honor my late high school buddy who died a few years back. Everyone at the baby shower loved it, except my sister Lauren, who stood up and slammed her hands on the table when she heard. "That's my baby's name. You know, I've always adored James Dean and planned to name my kid that." We tried explaining Lauren wasn't even dating, let alone pregnant, but she wouldn't listen. She called us betrayers, packed her bags, and left, shouting, "See you in court." 2 days later, a letter arrived, giving me 24 hours to drop the name or face consequences. My family called an emergency meeting. That night, we sat with Lauren in Dad's den, calmly explaining why I wouldn't change the name. Lauren's face turned red as a beet. She kept cutting in, saying my dead friend would get why this was her lifelong dream since she was a kid. We held firm, and after my lawyer pal showed her she couldn't sue over a baby name, she gave an ultimatum. The name was hers, or she'd cut us off. We all pointed to the door. Her eyes widened when we called her bluff, and in a bitter tone she said, "Fine, keep the dumb name." We thought it was over since she went quiet for 3 months. But then my delivery day came. I was in labor when Lauren burst into the room with a stuffed bear yelling, "Ethan's here!" Our family, even the nurses, looked baffled. My husband, Nate, asked what she meant. Lauren grinned, patting her flat stomach. "I'm pregnant too. You said I couldn't have the name because I wasn't pregnant, so I fixed that." Problem solved. We stared, stunned. Security escorted her out as she ranted about fairness. An hour later, I held my son for the first time. A nurse entered, looking uneasy. "There's a glitch with your paperwork. It lists the baby's name as Ethan." Nate shot up, digging into it while I cradled James. He found the hospital records didn't match our forms. Lauren had tried to legally change our baby's name during my labor. The hospital corrected it, but the warning was clear. Lauren was relentless. The next morning, as we recovered, my brother called. "Lauren's at the hospital, badly hurt. She'd been up since 5 a.m., filing name claims, driving across the state to every courthouse to secure James legally. She barely slept, skipped meals and water, and collapsed from heat stroke on courthouse steps, hitting her stomach and miscarrying. Rushed to the hospital, they gave her IV fluids. Once coherent, she called me, screaming I killed her baby by making her fight for her right. 'Jimmy was mine,' she sobbed. 'How's it feel knowing a baby died because of you?' I hung up silently. 3 weeks later, I was feeding James when Nate's phone rang. It was CPS. Someone reported us for child abuse and neglect. The caseworker listed chilling claims. Nate was supposedly violent with the baby, citing a teenage fistfight from his juvie record. My dad, living with us, was flagged as a risk due to an old coaching scandal where a player falsely accused him of misconduct, later recanting. They even called our home unsafe for a newborn. As we reeled, my neighbor sent screenshots from our town's Facebook group. Lauren posted a long story about bravely reporting abuse she saw in our home, posing as a savior. 20 minutes later, I let CPS in, hoping our tidy home would end this. The caseworker checked the nursery, baby supplies, James sleeping soundly, but then saw Dad in the kitchen. "Is this the grandfather from the report?" She pulled out her file, noting the coaching scandal. I explained the false accusation was retracted, but her expression hardened. "With your husband's juvie record, we must follow protocol. I'm sorry." I couldn't breathe as she took James away. "He'll stay with family," she said. "Your sister's very prepared." Of course, Lauren was ready. She'd probably set up a nursery right after the shower. Our lawyer warned emergency custody hearings could drag on. The investigation cleared us, but red tape slowed everything. Meanwhile, Lauren had our son, posting Instagram photos captioned, "My sweet James." I sat home, pumping milk for a baby I couldn't hold, staring at the caseworker's email for the 10th time. The investigation found no abuse, but the custody order stayed until a formal hearing, weeks, maybe months away. Meanwhile, my sister had my baby. The doorbell rang. I shuffled over, still in yesterday's milk-stained shirt. My neighbor stood there with a lasagna. "I saw what happened," she whispered, glancing around. "That woman who took your baby was here last week, asking about you." I took the dish, hands shaking. "What questions?" "Your schedule. When Nate gets home, if your dad helps with the baby." She asked if I'd heard fighting. She shifted. "I said you're great parents. I'm so sorry. I didn't know." She was building a case. After she left, I called our lawyer. He explained family placements are favored in emergencies. Lauren's nursery and past home check made her suitable. Her scheming didn't matter without proof. Nate came. Home early, face grim. His boss summoned him after seeing Lauren's posts. Though Nate explained, the damage was done. People whispered. His old juvie record, once irrelevant, now painted him as a threat. That night, Mom called, voice tight. "I saw Lauren. She's dressed the baby in new clothes, calls him James, and won't let me hold him unless I do too." "Did she mention returning him?" "She said you should have let her have the name." She kept saying this was fate, that her miscarriage meant James was hers. Mom's voice broke. "I don't know my daughter anymore." I pumped milk that night, filling a freezer my body didn't know was pointless. Every 3 hours, I'd pump to avoid mastitis, each session a reminder of my loss. The next morning, I documented everything. I built a timeline from the shower, every threat, every manipulation Lauren made. Nate gathered screenshots of her pre-birth posts about her future James. Dad, quiet since CPS came, spoke at dinner. I keep thinking about that coaching scandal. Even though the kid admitted she lied, it's still there, like Nate's fight. These things haunt you. He poked his food. Maybe I should move out temporarily. It might help. No way, Nate said. We're not letting her rip us apart. We're innocent. But doubt crept in at night. What if CPS was right to worry? What if our cleared past made us unfit? I questioned every choice I'd made in James's 3 weeks with us. On day 4 without him, I drove past Lauren's apartment. I didn't mean to stop, just needed to be near my son. Her car was gone. Heart pounding, I called Mom. Oh, she took James to a baby music class, Mom said. She's really leaning into this aunt role. Aunt? She's calling herself his aunt? Rage surged. I drove to the music studio, peering through the window. Lauren held my son among clueless moms, a slow-motion theft. James fussed, likely. Hungry. Did she have formula? My pumped milk? I wanted to storm in, but it had hurt our case. I took photos, evidence. Everything was evidence now. The lawyer called with mixed news. Good news, we got a hearing in 3 weeks. Bad news. Lauren's filed for temporary guardianship, citing the investigation and your family's instability. She can't. She's trying. I wondered what drives someone to orchestrate a kidnapping over a name. Lauren's timing, nursery-ready, courthouse knowledge, perfect paperwork, felt too calculated. She claimed I was unstable from postpartum depression, citing my silence when she called about her miscarriage as proof of coldness. She argued she was the better caregiver. I threw my phone, hitting the nursery door, unopened since James was taken. His scent lingered, making my arms ache. Nate found me on the floor, clutching James's unworn onesies. We'll get him back, he said, holding me. She can't keep this forever. Truth will win. But would it? Lauren was the family's master manipulator, always twisting reality with tears. Even now, she was likely spinning a tale of saving James from danger. My milk supply dwindled from stress. A lactation consultant said it's normal when separated, but I pumped anyway. It was all I could do for my son. Mom delivered the milk to Lauren, who took it with fake thanks and smugness. She's redoing his nursery, Mom said after a visit. Says yours wasn't stimulating enough. She's got educational toys, hired a sleep coach. The irony stung. Lauren, who got pregnant out of spite and miscarried from recklessness, played super aunt with my son. She lived her James Dean fantasy with my James, named for my lost friend who'd never meet him. I visited CPS daily, bringing new evidence. The caseworker, Ms. Carter, was professional but swamped, her desk buried in files of fractured families. She reiterated we were cleared, but a judge would decide custody. What about Lauren orchestrating this? I asked again. Without proof of malice, her report is seen as good faith. Family care during investigations is viewed positively. I wanted to yell there was nothing positive here, but I stayed, calm. Outbursts would feed Lauren's depression narrative. 2 weeks into separation, Nate's work took a hit. A client Googled him, saw Lauren's posts. The lies cost him his reputation. His boss suggested unpaid leave until it was resolved. Leave. We couldn't afford with legal bills piling up. Dad wasn't faring better. He'd resumed coaching to help, but the CPS case revived old gossip. Though cleared years ago, the scandal resurfaced. The school dropped him from their roster. Meanwhile, Lauren thrived, posting daily Instagram updates of her James hitting milestones. First smile I missed. First head lift I missed. She started a blog, Unexpected Motherhood, about stepping up for family. The hypocrisy choked me. She wrote about stable homes while wrecking ours, preached child-first values while traumatizing my son by taking him from me. Every like on her posts. Cut deeper. I printed it all. Posts, comments, photos where she called him my James. The evidence stack grew, but would it suffice? Family court crawled while my baby changed without me. 3 days before the hearing, trouble hit. I'd gone to the store for some normalcy. When I got back, Nate was on the porch with 2 cops. Another report, he said, voice empty. Someone requested a wellness check claiming I'd made threats. The officers asked about weapons, my mental health if I'd threatened Lauren. I hadn't, but someone, obviously Lauren, called, posing as a neighbor who heard me ranting. No proof. Another mark against us. That night, I broke. The sobs I'd held for weeks poured out. Nate held me as I cried about missing James's first weeks, my aching arms, the unfairness. She's winning, I gasped. She's taking everything. No, Nate said. She's desperate. The wellness. Check the posts. She knows the hearing's coming. Truth will out. But I doubted. Truth felt frail against Lauren's lies. She twisted our love for James into evidence, our old mistakes into dangers, herself into a hero. The night before the hearing, I couldn't sleep. I stood in James's nursery, promising to fight, not with lies like Lauren, but with truth and love, the fierce resolve of a father torn from his son. The hearing morning brought hope and dread. I dressed in my best suit, Nate adjusting his tie nervously. Dad insisted on coming despite our fears it'd look bad. We arrived at the county services building early, my evidence folder shaking in my hands. Lauren was there, James in a fancy stroller, dressed in clothes I didn't recognize. My body tensed, seeing my son. The hearing officer called us into a conference room. Ms. Carter was there with Lauren's caseworker and a new supervisor. Lauren launched her act, fake crying about our unsafe home. She showed photos of James thriving. Doctor visit records, reports from a baby expert she'd hired. Our turn came. I laid out our evidence: Lauren's name, obsession timeline, screenshots of her pregnancy announcement, post-fertility visits, a text bragging about her CPS plan. The IE supervisor scrutinized it all, questioning Lauren's nursery prep and sudden parenting skills. For the first time, Miss Carter looked unsure. Then Lauren dropped her bombshell: a psychologist's letter claiming James was bonded to her, and separating them could harm him. The officer's face tightened. The meeting ended unresolved. They needed 2 more weeks to review. I left hollow, watching Lauren wheel my son away, cooing like he was hers. That afternoon, our neighbor, Mrs. Walsh, brought an envelope. Inside were photos of Lauren snooping around our house pre-birth, taking pictures, peering in windows. She'd kept a log of Lauren quizzing neighbors about our routines, our pediatrician. She'd planned this for months. We sent it to our lawyer, who forwarded it to the supervisor. But Lauren had system contacts. 2 days later, she went live on social media from a hospital waiting room, claiming I'd stalked her at James's activities, threatening her. She waved a restraining order form, crying about fearing for James. The video exploded locally. Strangers saw a caring aunt protecting a baby from a crazed dad. Comments backed her, calling me unhinged, needing help. Some praised Lauren's bravery. Nate found me hyperventilating in my truck. We rewatched her calculated performance, her timed tears. Lauren was playing chess while we thought it was a family spat. Blogging about stolen motherhood while hiring baby experts took guts that'd make soap opera villains jealous. Our lawyer said the restraining order was weak. Lauren twisted my music class citing into stalking, using photos of me driving past her place, on my store route. The order was denied, but damage done. The supervisor warned any aggressive moves could tank our case. We were stuck. Fight for James, risk looking unstable. Mom became our surprise ally. She'd stayed neutral to see James, but Lauren's stunt flipped her. She recorded Lauren's unguarded moments during visits. Lauren erased us, filling James's nursery with James Dean posters, calling herself Mom. She told daycare she was his mother. When Mom corrected her, Lauren raged, threatening to block visits. Mom noticed Lauren was overwhelmed. She hired nannies for feedings, diapers, everything. Alone with James briefly, she panicked, calling Mom for basic help. Mom found James with a bad diaper rash, untreated for days. Lauren didn't change him herself. Mom photographed it, took him to urgent care where neglect was noted. We submitted this, but the system lagged. Every day gone was James's life I missed. He was 3 months old. I'd been his dad for 3 weeks. Finances crumbled. Nate's leave became a layoff when his firm deemed the drama too much. Dad's coaching income vanished. We burned savings on lawyers while Lauren posted about pricey baby classes. Then a break. Lauren's night nanny, Sarah, contacted Mom. She was uneasy, learning James wasn't Lauren's. She'd noted Lauren's late-night rants about deserving James more, revealing she'd planned this pre-pregnancy, studying custody laws, attending foster training. Her pregnancy was to bolster her claim. The miscarriage shifted her to stealing mine. We met Sarah at a diner where she gave us her notes. She feared losing her license if Lauren found out, but her conscience drove her. She described Lauren rehearsing her concerned aunt act in mirrors. The supervisor set an emergency review based on Sarah's account, but on meeting day, Sarah vanished, texting Mom she couldn't risk her job. Without her testimony, her notes were hearsay. Lauren knew we'd found her weak spot. She hired a new nanny, posted about Sarah's lies, painting herself as a victim of a bitter ex-employee. Her smear ramped up. She launched Saving James, a blog twisting reality, posts on spotting abuse, handling unstable kin, emergency, caregiving challenges. Local mom groups shared it. Some invited her to speak on child safety. She brought James as a prop, spreading lies. Old friends avoided us, unsure what to believe. Panic attacks hit me. The store became a gauntlet of stares, whispers. Nate couldn't find work. Employers saw Lauren's posts. Dad hid in his room, avoiding worsening things. Our lawyer suggested mediation, but Lauren refused, claiming she feared us. She filed another report saying we drove by her place at night, impossible to disprove. The new investigation delayed things, more weeks of James growing without us. Mom said he'd started solids, sat up, found his feet, milestones I learned secondhand via her secret photos. Nate's cousin overheard Lauren at a baby store asking, another woman about adoption lawyers, the process for kids in your care, birth parents' rights. She recorded it. This showed Lauren's plan wasn't temporary. She wanted James forever. But the muffled audio wasn't enough. Lauren claimed she asked for a friend. The supervisor set another hearing, possibly the last before long-term custody rulings. We prepped relentlessly, but it felt like a rigged game with Lauren rewriting rules. A week before, trouble struck. Dad, walking to clear his head, met one of Lauren's pals at the park. She filmed him, probing about the old coaching scandal. He tried leaving. She followed, goading him. When he snapped, telling her to stop, she got her clip, Dad yelling publicly. The edited video hit social media fast, showing him as aggressive. Lauren reposted, claiming our home's violent patterns, saying she shielded James. It went viral locally, sparking calls for charges. A digital expert proved the edit, but truth lagged behind lies. Dad was crushed, talking about leaving town to save our case. We begged him to stay, but he was breaking under public shame. Nate found Lauren in online adoption groups, posing as a foster-to-adopt parent, sharing James's photos, captioning their journey, venting about birth family drama. Members, unaware they aided a theft, offered tips. 3 days before the hearing, Mom took a risk. She persuaded Lauren to let her babysit while Lauren had a key meeting. Alone with James, Mom brought him to us. For 3 hours, I held my son. He'd changed, less newborn, more alert. But he settled against me like he knew me. I fed him formula, my milk gone, changed him, sang lullabies planned during pregnancy. Nate took photos, proof we could parent. Returning James broke me, but those hours restored my certainty. James knew me. Lauren could parade him, but she couldn't erase our bond. Mom said Lauren was livid about the visit, threatening to cut contact, but needed Mom's help too much. Nannies kept quitting, sensing the situation's wrongness. Mom was James's only constant. The day before the hearing, our lawyer called. Lauren submitted new evidence, statements from strangers alleging our bad behavior, private investigator photos of me crying in my truck, Nate angry at posts, Dad walking alone, depressed. Every struggle was weaponized. The report painted us as unfit. Something felt off about Sarah's sudden exit after her notes on Lauren's mirror rehearsals. In Lauren's story, we were always unstable. That last night, I sat in James's dusty nursery, holding a stuffed bear my friend's mom sent for his birth, recalling plans to tell James about his namesake. Nate found me at dawn, holding me as light broke. We didn't voice our fears. We'd done all we could, but Lauren would stop at nothing. At the hearing, Lauren arrived with supporters from her online groups, wearing Team James's safety shirts, turning our fight into a circus. I walked past, head high. In the conference room, Ms. Carter, Lauren's caseworker, our lawyer, and new officials sat around a table piled with evidence. Lauren entered, James in a carrier, fussing over him, dressed in a onesie with tiny rebel jackets, a sick nod to her James Dean fixation. I stayed stone-faced, knowing reactions would be used against me. The supervisor opened, stating this would set custody, prioritizing James's best interests. I wanted to shout his place was with us, but I held back. Lauren's team presented first with polished precision, photos, reports, statements framing us as unfit, hammering Nate's juvie past, Dad's scandal, my instability post-separation. Our lawyer countered, dismantling her story with her name obsession timeline, calculated reports, pre-birth planning proof. Mrs. Walsh's photos showed her spying. Mom's records exposed her poor care. Digital forensics revealed faked videos, planted evidence. Lauren's mask cracked as our case built. Her supporters couldn't hear, but she could. When texts showed her custody plot brag, she flushed. When Mom's clips of her mama claims played, she squirmed. The supervisor pressed, why the early nursery? Why adoption lawyer talks as a temporary caregiver? Why nanny quits over ethics? Each question eroded Lauren's hero tale. Then the game changer, the supervisor revealed CPS's own probe, sparked by our evidence. They interviewed ex-nannies, dug into Lauren's social media. Posts from years back showed her James Dean baby name fixation, nursery plans matching her setup. Worse, she'd hit fertility clinics right after the shower, rushing IUI to get pregnant for the name claim. The supervisor faced Lauren. The probe found manipulation and deceit unfit for James's interests. Initial removal followed rules, but her reports were clearly fabricated for custody. Lauren broke, sobbing raw tears, not her staged ones. She ranted about life's unfairness, her James Dean love, her childhood dream of a son named James. She accused me of stealing her vision, forcing her drastic steps. She spilled unknown details, hiring someone to plant evidence at our house, coaching witnesses, admitting her post-shower pregnancy was to secure the name. Her supporters, hearing through thin walls, left as her truth hit. By her meltdowns, and the waiting room held only our family. After a recess, the decision came fast. Emergency custody revoked. James returned to us that day. Lauren got supervised visits pending psych evaluation. Her false reports faced criminal review. The supervisor addressed us, admitting the system's failure, promising a policy review, suggesting civil action against Lauren for our losses. Security dragged Lauren out, yelling about conspiracies. Her hateful glare as she passed made me lean into Nate. An hour later, in a small room, a caseworker brought James. My son was home, bigger, more alert, but he nestled into me like no time passed. Nate enveloped us, and we laughed through tears. Driving home felt dreamlike, James in his car seat, Dad on the porch crying, Mrs. Walsh and neighbors welcoming him. The nursery, empty months, filled with his sounds. That night, rocking James in the chair I bought pregnant, I reflected on the hell. False claims, social media wars, job losses, separation pain, all over a name Lauren coveted, but we endured. Truth won, at great cost. Nate was jobless, Dad's reputation tarnished, savings gone. The trauma would linger. Yet, holding James mattered more. His first week home was tough. Lauren's chaotic care wrecked his sleep. He woke screaming every 2 hours, seeking nannies he knew. I paced with him, relearning his cries, his holds. Nate handled logistics, expunging reports, explaining to his ex-boss, rebuilding his name. Each call meant retelling our nightmare. Dad emerged slowly, helping with James while I napped. I saw him whisper apologies to his grandson, guilt from the resurfaced scandal raw. 3 days in, packages arrived, baby gear addressed to Lauren at our house. She'd signed us up for registries, subscriptions, draining our funds. Deliveries never stopped. Mom brought food, support, and grim updates. Lauren's designer baby clothes were bought on bad credit. Specialist visits were booked but skipped. She couldn't manage James alone. Lauren turned a custody fight into a merch drop with Team James's safety tees. Nothing screams stable like branding your nephew's theft trial. Her blog drew sponsors now demanding refunds post-truth. She told James's doctor she was adopting him, claiming we ditched him for drugs, forging forms, faking medical histories, listing herself as guardian. Untangling her lies took hours with doctors, insurers, legal aid. Nate's cousin sent screenshots from mom groups where Lauren still posted, now claiming we stole James, calling herself his true mom. Some bought it, others saw cracks in her tale. Finances tanked, savings gone, cards maxed, mortgage looming. Nate sent job applications daily, but Lauren's posts tainted his name. I returned to work early, leaving James with Dad. My body wasn't ready, stress lingering. Co-workers whispered about the saga they'd followed online. Some supported, others distanced, like our pain was catching. 2 weeks post-hearing, Lauren's first supervised visit came. She arrived in a James Dean tee with a bag of movie merch. I handed her James. She called him Jimmy, insisting it was cuter. The visit soured fast. She trashed our nursery, said James looked weak, hinted we stunted him. When he fussed, she claimed we'd turned him against her. The social worker noted it, concerned. After I found notes she'd hidden in our house behind frames and books under cushions. He's mine, you stole him, this isn't done. Nate added cameras, we changed locks, set sensors, planned with neighbors. Mrs. Walsh started a watch for Lauren's car. The town, split by her posts, began rallying for us. Visits grew worse. Lauren brought bizarre gifts, adult James Dean gear, R-rated DVDs for later, a bond for James Dean Jr. The social worker logged it, building a case to end visits. At the 4th visit, Dad found a camera and a teddy bear Lauren left. She'd recorded our home for new claims. Police called it a civil issue without harm proof. Nate got a job interview, 2 hours away. Lower pay, brutal commute, but we took it. He left at dawn, returned late, hopeful. Mom learned Lauren visited James's old daycare, claiming she'd resume care, forging enrollment forms, paying a bad deposit. The director, aware via Facebook, alerted us. Another mess. Lauren's psych eval showed delusions, narcissism, a belief she was fated for a son named James, tied to her Dean obsession. Therapy was ordered, visits paused. Lauren fought back, making new accounts, posting videos calling the eval rigged, starting a petition to reunite Jimmy with his mom. Each platform needed takedown requests, each post added to our harassment file. Nate's job brought relief, insurance, income to rebuild. Dad watched James, fighting his own depression from public shame. 3 months post-return, we hit a community cookout. Some neighbors shunned us, others quietly backed us. Kids stopped coming over, their parents swayed by Lauren's lies. We smiled through it, reclaiming our spot. That night, Lauren showed up, breaking the no-contact order. Disheveled. Gaunt, she knelt on our porch, sobbing about losing her home, job, friends who saw her lies. She begged to see James once, promising to vanish. Nate called cops while I watched her clutch a James Dean photo, mumbling about fate. She went quietly, almost relieved. Another violation for her record. Next day, her old landlord called about her abandoned stuff, including a storage key. Inside, we found years of obsession. Journals of Dean fantasies, vision boards of fake kids, articles on custody manipulation, proof of a decade-long delusion. We gave it to police, hoping to stop her targeting others. The detective, shocked, said we'd documented perfectly. 6 months later, Nate adapted to his commute. Dad volunteered at the library, rebuilding confidence. I worked full-time, savoring James's evenings. Debt lingered, but eased. Lauren's visits never restarted. She refused therapy, denying fault. Mom heard she'd moved states, telling new people about her stolen son. Authorities were alerted. James thrived, unaware of his early chaos. He crawled in the nursery Lauren called lacking, took first steps in the home she tried to empty. His first word, dada, came one quiet Sunday. Simple joys, precious after near loss, the I. Town moved on, some ties broken by quick belief in lies. True allies like Mrs. Walsh became family, doting on James. A year post-battle, I stood in James's nursery, no longer haunted by its empty months. Toys and books filled it, proof of a loved child. I held the bear for my friend's mom, telling James about his namesake. Nate found me, James asleep in my arms. We sat in dusk, wordless. Our son was home, family whole despite scars. Trust came harder, innocence gone, but we'd beaten Lauren's obsession, protected James, found strength unknown. Tucking him in, I thought of the name that sparked it all, a simple tribute to a friend unleashed hell. But watching James sleep, safe, I'd change nothing. He was James, named for love, not an actor or anyone's fantasy. Ahead lay normal hurdles, teething, potty training, school, gifts after our ordeal. Lauren lingered as a warning of obsession, entitlement, but held no power. We learned to document, trust sparingly, cherish the mundane. James would grow knowing he was fought for, loved endlessly. That was the only truth. Yo, thanks for sticking with me through this wild tale. Pretty intense, huh? Appreciate you riding along. Till next time, keep digging for truth out there. Hit that like button. It helps more than you know.